I just wanted to thank you, the fans, just for your enthusiasm.
Careful, Sandra, because that enthusiasm can go both ways. So some Killing Eve fans are crying bloody murder of how the show wrapped up after 4 seasons.
I did it, Eve.
Don't you mean we did it?
Yeah, but mostly me.
Going into this finale, I actually had no expectations, which I don't think I've ever not had before of a show that I've seen every single episode of. Even from the beginning of season 4, I was like, what's happening here? Like, how are we on the same path that was set up on season 1? So with the finale, I was just kind of like, okay, sure, whatever. Others aren't as indifferent. Inverse said, Killing Eve just aired the worst TV series finale since Game of Thrones. Digital Spy. Killing Eve just ended in the worst possible way. IndieWire called the ending frustrating and not much of an ending. CNN said it was less than killer end to a long, strange trip. Variety says it ended on a total betrayal of what once made it great. Ooh. And then Forbes just summed it up. Everyone hates the Killing Eve series finale ending. Sandra Oh and Jodie Comer are defending the ending in a new interview just released with Elle magazine. Now, this interview was done before the finale aired, so I'm actually curious to see, I'm sure they'll do more interviews, how their answers will change now that they've seen the fan reaction. But for the finale, Sandra says, I think it's true to this show. As an audience, you want to be satisfied. You want to know, like, I want to be satisfied. I want it tied up in a bow. I want to understand it. But that's not it. Well, it was killing Villanelle. Like, that's pretty definitive. That's pretty much tying it up in a nice bow. Jodie says, it was inevitable. She's like a cat with 9 lives. What I loved about the moment was that was a really selfless act that she did that caused it. It felt right that in that moment she protected Eve. There was something about that shielding, I think, that signified how much she had changed. She was trying so desperately to change at the beginning, and I don't think she ever realized how much she had, which is so sad. That moment really shows how Eve changed her life. Sandra points out the moments leading up to Villanelle. I love the sequence on the boat where we intercut between Eve on the top deck dancing in full life and Villanelle below killing the 12.
Look me in the eye and promise no love's like I love.
Oh wait, sorry, wrong Sandra Oh dance scene in her last episode on a TV show. Yeah, sorry, I got them mixed up. Here we go. We see the essence of the characters. I believe this is a moment of understanding for Villanelle because in the moment after, we see how Villanelle has changed. She saves Eve. Villanelle had to die to bring the show to an endpoint. But Sandra reveals when they were first planning the finale, it was going to be Killing Eve. Honestly, at the beginning of 2020, when discussing the finale, it was the other way around. But through the pandemic, we changed tracks. Villanelle goes on to more ethereal realms, and Eve is left to survive. Now, if Eve had died, that truly would have been unsatisfying. Like, unless it caused Villanelle to have some, like, come to Jesus moment and realize the error of her ways, I don't see how Eve dying would have brought any kind of satisfactory conclusion for a viewer. Jodie does point out the thing that I enjoyed about the finale the most is that we got to see the two of them together the entire episode. Like, I mean, sometimes they only have like one scene per season.
You don't want to say it? Fine. I don't care. But I can. I need you, Villanelle.
What was great was Sandra and I were together for the whole of that last week. We got to experience that together with the crew. So while fans still reel over Villanelle's death, Sandra says Killing Eve has never been a show that has been easy on its audience. I think one of the special things about the show is hopefully how satisfying it is not to get what you want. Tied neatly in a bow, that analogy again, it was never neat between the characters. So Eve's ending leaves us with a question. How will she go on? So with that question, even though there's no future seasons planned, is it possible we could see a revival where we see the next chapter of Eve's life?
When I close something, I close it.
Okay, so that's a no from Sandra in this extra interview.
Both of us were very, very active in understanding that this was the finale and that we are closing the characters.
So yeah, for me, this felt like a closing of the characters that I'm okay with. Like, I mean, if you think about the possibilities that they had, Villanelle dies, or Eve dies, or they live happily ever after, or they go their separate ways again. And that's how they've ended seasons, like the last season. So I don't see how them going their separate ways again would have been in any kind of ending that had any kind of finality to it. And yeah, I've already said that Eve dying would have been a WTF moment that would have negated everything we've watched over the past 4 seasons. So they couldn't have done that. The happily ever after scenario, I mean, the tone of the show, how would they have ever pulled that off? So yeah, as Jodie said, it's kind of inevitable. I'm not sure that people are actually upset that Villanelle died. I think it's how rushed it was. Like, it just kind of came out of nowhere. So yeah, I'm not sure that people are upset about that narrative point. I think it's more just how rushed that point was. So yeah, the narrative beats could have been done better, but I mean, this show has been so chaotic that, I mean, they pulled that finale off in pretty fine form. This is a perfect example of a show that overstays its welcome. Like, I mean, me watching season 1, I could recognize that this is not a long-term story. I thought they can do a season 2, maybe they can stretch it to a season 3, but once they were announcing season 4, I thought, oh geez. So yeah, note to TV showrunners, recognize the lifespan of your story. Like, it kind of shocks me what a high regard this show is seen in when it couldn't even come close to sustaining itself for 32 episodes. Like, I mean, if this was a network show, that would be a season and a quarter. Like, I mean, Grey's Anatomy has done 395 episodes, to give you some context. So yeah, I want to hear from some other Killing Eve viewers. Like, are you upset at the actual plot point of Villanelle dying, or is it more that it just seems so rushed?